So, for everyone that doesn't know, my name is Kendyl, and I am the channel partner at Assignar. I have been around the construction industry for a while, and I'm really passionate about where the industry is headed. One of the main things that we're hearing from customers is about labor shortages affecting a lot of construction companies, difficulties hiring right now. So, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about with your expertise is your journey from the Marines to solution services and how you think that's helped and impacted your career, and just get to know you as a person. So, for our listeners, we are talking to Ricky Glass today from Solution Services. He is their Chief of Operations. Ricky was a combat engineer in the Marine Corps from 2002 until 2006. He's been in the industrial construction industry since 2007, servicing pulp and paper, cement, chemical, and manufacturing industries across the Southeast. With maintenance and capital project solutions. Ricky, if any of that is incorrect, you can feel free to correct me. I know you're still serving in the reserves, so if you want to say a little bit about yourself, welcome to the show.
Yeah. So thank you for having me. Yeah. So I guess since last we talked, I was promoted. So I am president now. So I have
Oh,
a few
no.
more a few more responsibilities on me, but the rest is true. Yeah. So 2002, 2006, I was active duty Marine Corps combat engineer. Uh, and then in 2009, I had a break in service from '06 to '09. But in 2009, I did go in the National Guard, and I still serve today. Hopefully, I'll retire here in about 2 years. Kind of
Yes.
getting up there in age, 42. I'm ready to kind of be done with that part and move
You're
on. So,
young.
but it's been a great journey. So, and a lot of my success, I would have to attribute to my military experience and what they were able to give me
Yeah,
or
that's
instill in me, I
amazing.
should say.
Yeah. Well, I apologize and congratulations on the promotion to president. That's super
Yeah, thank
exciting.
you. Yeah, thank you.
So I guess our first segue then will be, how did you transition from the military to construction and then obviously went back to the military? What did that transition look like? Maybe what was your first job? Anything impactful in that transition that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I kind of knew when I went in. Of course, I went in '02, so 9/11 was had just happened, and so I wanted to help in any way I could. And in some ways, when I joined, it was a calling, but I felt like I was going to take a break and what I had planned, and go serve my country. So so I did construction. I mean, that was really my first job at 14.
Yeah.
Just toting lumber on a framing crew. So that was my first job. At an early age, I was like, "This is what I want to do." Um,
We
so
won't tell
I,
OSHA about the child labor there.
well, that was back in the '90s. So I don't know how I don't know how strict they were back then. So, but so yeah. Anyway, so I joined in '02 and '06. So when I got on in '06, I kind of knew, hey, I'm gonna go back into construction. My vision at that time was to go to work for myself and do residential construction, uh, and so I did. That was what I did. As I got out, uh, my father and we started to work together. We did project here, project there, just kind of bumping along until '08 happened, and so I
Yep.
began to feel it in '08, trying to receive checks from contractors and things of that nature. Yeah, it was getting slim. So uh, this opportunity came up. My cousin was actually working for this company, and they said, "Hey, they're looking for a foreman." And so I went did an interview, and then that was '07, and the rest is
Hmm.
kind of history. So here I am in 2023 now, still at the same place. So that was kind of how I transitioned from the military out into construction.
So you've been there 15 years at Solution
Yeah, so
Services?
yeah, August would be 16, so 15 now. Yep.
Yeah, that's a long time. From foreman to president. If that's not a good story, I don't know what is.
Yeah, yeah. So I kind of hit it lucky at that. A small company, and the company's growing. I've been able to kind of grow with it.
Yeah.
So, uh, super proud, super stoked about that.
How many foremen do you have under you today?
How many foremen do I have today? So we're pushing about 12 foremen in the field. We have 6 project managers, operations manager, and then uh, I, the HR director reports to me. The finance reports to me. We have 4 engineers on staff. That so the engineering group reports to me as well, and then the sales team. So we have 4 on the sales team. Excuse me, 4 on the sales team that also report to me. So
A
we've come a long
well-oiled
way.
machine. Yeah. What would you say has been the biggest change in moving from the field to the office side of things?
Your managerial skills, they have to change from that matter. What the military did very well for me, I was enlisted, so I wasn't as polished as the officers, if you will, coming through. So being in the field, it was a pretty smooth transition from
Mm-hmm.
just being able to bark or demand or command the situation on that level, without a lot of what I would say finesse, if you will. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you're given that leeway at that level. As you move up, the most troubling thing is trying to learn how to manage managers, people who very intellectual, very can think for them. Not that the lower can't think for themselves. We're just doers at that level,
Mm-hmm.
not so much managers. And so, keeping managers accountable has probably been the most difficult thing that I've had to transition to and learn how to do. It's a very difficult task.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds like you are quite busy. I've got our first rapid fire question for you. So,
Okay.
what does your morning routine look like?
Uh, Putting out fires. Anything that hits my desk, from day to day, that's really what I enjoy about what I do. From day to day, it's not the same thing. I can't,
Mm-hmm.
nothing's monotonous about what I do. There's a new challenge every day. Here we are starting the first of the year. It's been, very challenging with just certain things that are going on within the company, but it could span from anything from the finance team, needing some assistance, or the engineering team trying to figure out a design or an issue, where we're hiring, what we're going to hire, where we're headed next, what the strategic plan is for that. Trying to point the sales team in the right direction, and operationally just keep that flowing. There's a lot of pieces in that. Construction is difficult. It's forever changing.
Mm-hmm.
Change events within construction, schedule, uh, all these things just kind of come together. So at any given point in my morning, it's kind of like, hey, what's next? What are we tackling today?
Yep. Yeah. Always changing. So, in one of the articles that I had sent you, it's actually from ConExpo. And they were talking about, so the name of the article is Hiring Our Heroes. Military vets could be the answer to construction staffing shortages. And one of the data points that they said was that vets currently make up about 7% of the construction workforce. And approximately 200,000 vets transition out of the military each year. And so something that's interesting and what we wanted to talk about is how do we transition some of those vets into the construction industry? There's a want and there's a need, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the skills that you think make that transition a smooth transition, and any challenges that you had transitioning.
Yeah. So I did read the article and put some thought into it, and it's not a straightforward question by any means.
Yeah,
Uh,
no.
I can speak on my behalf, and I can speak from friends and buddies of mine. Um, when you join the military and you're a part of that, you feel a part of something large, and there's this really huge sense of purpose. There's a huge sense of just kind of being the tip of the spear and leading the way. Um, and so once you're in, you have this huge feeling of just belonging. One of the things about the military, good or bad, when you sign the contract signed. You're there for you're the government's for 4 years, 6 years, whatever your contract is, and so you really bond really well with the people that are around you, and so there's a number of feelings that come with getting out. One being that you left your buddies behind. They're there still dealing
Yep.
with it, still on their contract. You have decided to move on. Um, the phone calls aren't as frequent. I mean, you can't just go down the barracks and knock on your buddy's door and hang out. So you're no longer a part of that group anymore. And so now you're in the civilian world where civilians don't think the same way. They
Yeah.
just don't. Where you have all these options and people have slapped that option as soon as they can. This is dumb. I'm on. So you don't quite feel like you belong in either group yet. Um, and so in transitioning, I feel like a lot of vets are looking for that belonging, or that thing that they can be proud of. And so that's what construction did for me. When you get out and you need something to be proud of again, you can go around and you can see the things that you installed or you built. One of my biggest things, we got a new sales guy not long ago, and I was just kind of walking around a mill that used to be my account when I was a project manager, and I'm just pointing, hey, we put that in, we did this, and so that sense of pride begins to come back, and I think that's where vets really searching and looking for, and I think the power is in your company. If you can begin to not just get one vet, but begin to get two or three where they really begin to relate, then you'll be really powerful at that.
Yeah. Have you, as your time as president, been able to hire many people? And if so, do you have any other vets working for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my HR director, he was a colonel in the Army. He just retired a little over a year ago now. Um, my ops manager, he was a Navy nuke submarine commander.
Wow.
So one of my foremen, good friend of mine, we served together in my first trip overseas. So he's a foreman with us. He's been with us for 12 years. And there's a few, in the craft that are there too. So in the guard, the military has a bunch of, I don't really think they're DOD. They're more kind of like third party, semi DOD, where they're partnering with the military and they're trying to get vets into um, civilian jobs and transfer. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
been really helpful for me, one, to know about those sources and to tap those sources, but also for Jeff, my HR director, for him to kind of know those. Matter of fact, he came through one of them. Uh, he was out processing, and they kind of had a internship out process for him in which he could go out into the civilian world as he was retiring and do 60 days. And so we grabbed him up. He was with us for 60 days, and we were able to land him after he retired. So there's a lot of resources out there. You just kind of got to go ask. I know the Guard does a very good job of it. The National Guard, at least South Carolina National Guard, every month or every other month, they're asking who's unemployed, who's underemployed, and they're trying to place those soldiers somewhere. So the resources are there. The biggest issue, the biggest issue with it is the military only makes up 1% of the population. So
Yeah.
you can say there's 200,000 getting out. You can say there's 700,000 out there, but in the grand scheme of things, there's not a lot of vets out there. So if you can grab one or two or three, you really need to grab hold of that and hold on to it.
Yeah, that's great. And we're definitely going to put all of those resources in the show notes. I think it's something that you guys are really successful at that not every maybe construction company has been able to tap into. Like you said, it's a small market.
Mm-hmm.
So having a foot in the door really definitely helps. Um, the last thing I'll touch on this is with the soft skills. what would you say in your employees that are vets, what is the most transferable soft skill that you looked for in hiring them that's made them successful in the construction industry?
You know,
Something that was instilled from the military.
yeah, uh, I'd say it's really their ability to, I don't know if the words deal with stress or work through stressful situations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they don't get very rattled. They continue to press forward without quitting. So that's definitely something. We talked about it earlier. I spoke about it where you're just kind of in this pressure cooker and you've got nowhere to go. You're stuck to the contract, and you have to make the best of your situation. And so that really gets instilled in them, especially the ones that have deployed. Uh, you know, they learn to work through the stress, deal with the problems one step at a time, and just keep pressing forward without giving up. Highly dependable in high stress situations. And construction, I'll tell people this a lot. Being a project manager is probably one of the most stressful, tough jobs you can do. You're always
Mm-hmm.
up against schedule, you're always up against costs, you're always up against resources, and at any given time, all three of them or any of the one is kind of going awry and you've got to deal with. So, construction in itself, it can be stressful in itself. So,
Yeah, and it can be dangerous. I think a lot of people don't necessarily, that are outside of the industry, realize that it's a dangerous job. It's not the safest job out there to do either.
it's not, but a lot of through history, a lot of things have been in place, and I think it's not near what it might have been 50, 60, 100 years ago. But
Yeah, when they were letting
accidents,
14-year-olds
unfortunately, yeah,
work.
accidents, unfortunately, yeah, unfortunately, accidents do happen, but um, it's just kind of part of it.
So, if you had one piece of advice to give to a vet looking to get into the construction industry, what would it be?
Looking to get in, uh, I guess there's a number of things I would tell them. One, the great thing about people in the military, what it tells you, somebody who's been through the service is they were able to be trained and they were able to actually go out and show that they can do the task. So uh, I would say, keep your head down, learn. There's going to be a learning curve there. If you have no construction background, there's going to be a learning curve. So go back to the days where you didn't know it all. Learn whatever trade or whatever task or whatever it is that you're going into, whether that's electrician, plumbing, pipe fitting, welding, whatever that is. Learn it to a T, and then begin to apply it. But after you get to that point, don't stop. There's always somebody better. There's always somebody who's gunning for it. So continue to grow from there and continue to learn. Never get stale. Uh, the other thing that I would say is, you know, find whatever that trade is or whatever industry that is that you know makes you feel like you're a part of something and that you belong and that you are making civilization better. Find that. You might not find a lot of joy in building the 7-Elevens or the quick trips, but maybe it's the high rise or the residential house, or maybe it's the paper mill, whatever that may be. Find that one that makes you feel belong. So
Yeah, great advice. Great advice. I'll transition to talk a little bit more about your thoughts on the construction industry. Um, and let's see. What has been the best part about being in the construction industry in any role? So you can think back all the way to the early days or your current role. Overall, what's your favorite thing about working in the construction industry?
uh part it's a curse and a blessing, right? You know, the greatest thing is that, whatever problems I have around the house, I can deal with. I know how to take care of them. The problem is that all my friends know that too, so they want to call me for free labor. So they want me to come fix their stuff. Um, so no, in truth, it's the people, it's the guys. The industry, construction industry is not very large. There's not a lot of people coming into it, and
Mm-hmm.
my generation was part of it. I remember, back in high school where I was told I needed to go to college, which I did eventually. But I needed to go to college and I needed to sit in a corner office if I was going to make it in the world.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of them went to college. A lot of my friends, everybody went to college, and not a lot of people came into the industry. The trades weren't pushed very heavily
Mm-hmm.
in the high schools at that time. So, you know, with limited resources, the people really become close knit. And the guys in this company, the welders, the fitters, the foremen, the project managers, it's really a tight knit group that would do whatever they needed to do to help you in a bad situation. So the people that have been with me through my journey, that's probably the best thing the construction industry's, excuse me, given to me.
Yeah. Almost like a bit of a brotherhood to transition through your career.
Absolutely.
What is one myth about the construction industry that you want to debunk?
Here's the myth: you don't need to sit in an office to make an honest and good living. Uh, you
I love
know,
it.
I tell people all the time, everybody thinks they got to go to college, especially in the National Guard. A lot of the kids, I call them kids, they're young adults. Let's just say that, 19 to 22, 23. A lot of the reason they went in was to get some tuition assistance or something along those
Mm-hmm.
lines. Um, that was a bonus aside from serving, right? But they still believe that they have to go to college and able to provide for their family and do whatever. Uh, but you know, this guy's not a young adult anymore. He's moved in. But I remember I hired a young adult. Luke was like 19 or 20 at the time. He learned how to weld, and within his first year, 19 or 20, I think he clipped 85 or 90 grand that year as a 20-year-old, just welding. So I'll go back to some of my buddies who graduated college and went and got their first job for $35,000 a year.
Yep.
With all that school debt on them.
Debt.
So it's a myth that you see the guy on the side of the road holding the shovel and the vest on, and you think, I'm doing better than him. You might want to second guess. He's probably knocking down a pretty good paycheck, or her knocking out a pretty good paycheck, and it's just unexpected, right?
Yeah, I love it. That's definitely something that I think hopefully is changing as the younger generation comes in. But construction and blue collar workers as a whole, it's a good career and it's a great place to be. And you guys are my favorite people to work with. So,
Well, I mean, I think in the next 5 years, it's actually going to increase. I mean, I remember '08, that a lot, 2008 in the recession, there was a lot of guys that came in early '80s into the industry, and they were, retiring out of the industry. And so there was a resource shortage back in '09, 10, 11. Um, and rates for tradesmen just began to climb.
mm-hmm.
I know in that time, there was probably at least a $4 or $5 increase in pay and wages just in that time. And I think we're going to see something very similar here. That as those resources are valued and there's a shortage of them, from my point of view, I'm going to end up having to pay more for it to grab the good resources and get them into the company so that we can put out good product.
What is the biggest challenge you're facing going into 2023 as president of Solution Services?
There's not a lot of struggle out there. The industry is strong right now.
Mm-hmm.
We've been lucky enough, resource wise, we've been able to find the resources and continue to grow. We had 32% growth in 2022. And from
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. And then in 2020, there was a 27%. So we've been growing, we've been manning, we've been having the resources. The biggest struggle is just, I don't know how to explain it quite. It's this, it's the phone, it's the internet. Everybody wants what they want now. And they think that it should be delivered now. When you can go on the Amazon and you can hit it and 2 days is at you, so everybody, there's been a stark change in the industry from when I came into it. From 2007 to somewhere in 2012, 2013, there was a lot of upfront planning by manufacturers. A lot of a lot of money spent on engineering, a lot of money spent to make sure before you got to construction that the drawings were correct, everything was there.
Yeah.
And so, that kind of went away. They stopped spending the money for that and said, hey, it's just cheaper to kind of figure it out on the fly, which was fine. The problem with that now is we're stuck in a material shortage or a procurement issue where, some of these things we're talking are 50 weeks out, and so they want it now. And it's like, I can't get you the parts you need in that time frame. So, they're just the instantaneous of, hey, I need this now, I need to change it now, I need to make it happen now, without a lot of pre-planning. We have to be available for that. We have to try to service the best we can. We're trying to build superior solutions and services. So we're trying to flex to it best we can. It's just sometimes we don't have the resources, and some better planning would help us to get there. So that's probably the biggest thing that we're faced with today.
Do you think technology is going to help or hurt in that planning?
Neutral on that. Technology's great. It's used in the right way. Technology's not going to fix what you have. I mean, there's no replacement for, just good people, smart people, likable people. There's just no replacement for that. Can it assist in it? Absolutely. I think if you take the technology too far, then it would be a hindrance, right? More than it could help. So, my advice is just be careful with, what technology it is and what you're trying to get out of it, and not overload it.
So with that, where do you think the construction industry will be in 5 years? Where do you see it? I'll say I see a lot recently these robots, doing drywall and incorporating really interesting technology into job sites. And it's innovative. But as someone who's not boots on the ground, interested in your perspective on what you think the industry is going to look like in 5 years, not what we're seeing online.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a huge fear of robots taking my job. The whole Terminator thing. I don't have a lot of fear that way. Robots do as they're programmed. Will the jobs change? Quite, yeah. But robots need maintenance too, right? So robots need to be installed. I mean, we've installed a number of wire guided forklifts and machines that operate on their own, right? What it does do is not so much on the construction side. It doesn't hurt the construction side. Where it kind of hurts more is the factory workers that used to just go in and run the lines, right? They're the ones that are going to get impacted more by that type of stuff than us. But
manufacturing the products that you're waiting on,
are working the line, right? So we don't work the production line. We don't do that part. We work to make the production line, better or faster or more reliable, whatever the case may be. But we don't actually work the line. And so, the technology part of it does replace their jobs to an extent. But construction industry, the more robots you want to put in, the more work we have. So, there's infrastructure that needs to go with that. There's just a number of things that go along with it. So I don't have a huge fear on that. Do I think there are certain, today at least, there are tasks that just can't be replaced that way. But for the industry that I'm in heavy industrial, when we talk about paper, we're talking about machines that produce 100 tons of paper an hour. We're talking about chemical plants
Yeah.
and cement, these things that just, people are going to use. And quite frankly, we consume more today than we did 20 years ago. And so, especially as Americans, where I do most of my work, their consumption is just
Yeah.
going to continue to go up. So, for me, there's, what's the word I'm looking for? Job security, right? There's plenty of job security out there for me. So, but I think the construction industry has been building up over the past, year and a half. I'm anxious for the supply chain to catch back up. It took about 2 years for us to run through our supply chain, of what just backlogged and all the intermediates. So I'm ready for it to catch back up. But people are definitely starting to spend capital and starting to make investments again. So, I know everybody's a little fearful of 2023 and what that means.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, we're going to have a soft landing, and construction industries is going to keep going up. I foresee the next 5 years being just growth, honestly.
Yep. Yeah, we had an internal meeting yesterday, and that was exactly what we talked about. Is it's proven over and over again, 2001, 2008, the construction industry, especially the heavy sector, is resilient. It'll be a soft landing if there's any landing at all. So
Right, exactly. So
okay, if you could do anything other than construction, any job in the world, regardless of pay, what would your career be?
uh, I'd probably coach. I wouldn't lie. I'd probably coach or train or something like that. Um, Probably baseball. And I grew up playing
Yep.
ball. I kind of thought that was my path for a while to go play ball. I really enjoyed it. I've coached a number of little league teams and been successful. And it just brings a lot of joy, especially when kids start having success and they're reaching their goals. That's it. A little warm and fuzzy on the inside. So that's probably what I would do.
Yeah, that's definitely cute. Okay, last one. What is your go-to job site drink?
Go-to job site drink?
Yeah, not like
Water?
alcohol, like
Water?
coffee, Red Bull.
uh, Most of the time it's
It is
water.
hot down there.
In the summer, yeah, in the South here in the summer, it's water. That's all it is. But yeah, I've been trying to wean myself off. For a while there, I was on the bang drinks pretty hard. So,
The
get
bang
get that
drinks.
caffeine in there pretty hard. So, but yeah, so I'm a coffee every morning kind of guy. If I need to pick me up in the afternoon, I'll grab a bang or something. But for the most part, it's just water.
Well, Ricky, this has been so fun. I think everyone's going to love hearing from you, your perspective on things. You're obviously great at what you do and a great member of the community. So congratulations again on your promotion. Is there anything else you wanted to add that I didn't ask you?
I don't think so. It's been fun. I appreciate
It's
the
been
invite.
fun.
It has.
I'm so happy that you came.